We're streaming on YouTube, and we are now recording, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Brett.
Today is January 26th, 2022. I'm going to open this meeting up at 6 p.m. This is a Zoom meeting only. It is live on YouTube, as well as it will be uploaded to Channel 9 on a cable station. If you're on YouTube and you want to do Zoom, our meeting ID number is 857-8735-5639, and our passcode is 561140. I'll read that again. Meeting ID number is 857-8735-5639, and our passcode is 561140. So my name is Ken Pacheco. I'm the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. We also have on Zoom Dr. Brett Sarkofis, one of our selectmen, as well as Lenny Hull. We have
Good evening.
Executive Administrator Karen Brady with us, as well as our Town Administrator Mike Mullen. I would ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Sorry.
Since our last meeting, the following Dayton residents have passed. We extend our heartfelt condolences and a moment of silence for the following. Elizabeth C. Cole, age 95, of North Dayton, formerly of Swansea. She passed away on Monday, January 17th. She was the wife of the late Alton Cole, and she was a home economics teacher at Dayton High School. Joyce Grassi, 87, of Dayton, passed away on January 21st. She was the wife of Everett W. Grassi Jr. She was a former special education coordinator for the Dayton Rehoboth Regional School District's Special Education Department. She was also the mother-in-law of Board of Health Administrative Assistant Rosalind Grassi. Erwin L. Whalen, 81, formerly of Dayton, passed away on January 22nd. Erwin was employed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a case manager and social worker. He'll be most remembered for his service as a member of the Dayton Board of Selectmen. Also, Henry L. Bennett, age 86, of Dayton, passed away on January 22nd. He was the beloved husband of Mary Bennett, and he was an electrical engineer. And also, Lena Smith of Dayton. She worked for the town of Dayton for 10 years in the building department of Veteran Services, as well as being an election worker. She was the wife of Ronald Smith. We ask if we could have a moment of silence for these residents who have passed. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our first scheduled appointment was with our building commissioner, Jim Agia.
Yes, hello, Selectmen.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Dayton. I just want to take a minute and send my thoughts and prayers to the Smith family. I worked with Glenna for a short time, so thinking of you. We'll miss her.
Thank you for that. So
yes, before you,
Yep. Yes, Jim.
before you tonight are two appointments. These are positions that have already been created. They're already funded, and they've been funded in years past. They're just vacancies that need to be filled. So the assistant plumbing and gas inspector, I think you can remember we lost Jim Sine some time back. So the assistant moved into Jim's position, unsure if he was willing to take on the primary position. But He loves his time in Dayton, loves working for the town, so he'd like to stay in that position, and now we want to backfill the assistant's position. Fortunately for us, we recently hired Mr. Haig as our VSO, who is also a retired plumber and has expressed interest to me about helping out the town and particularly my office. So he would like to take on that role. That's just to help out in times that Tim is on vacations. So it would be on a very limited basis. But again, that's fully funded in the current lines, so no appropriations are needed. And then for the weights and measures position, we had a retirement with Mr. White, and our current assistant or local building inspector, Jeffrey Mello, has the credentials and is currently the sealer of weights and measures in Seekonk. So he would slide right into that position, and it's my understanding the town administrator will seek a permanent replacement, but at least Jeffrey can help us out on an interim basis. We do have a need, especially with the marijuana facility that wants to open. So I'm looking for your support for those two appointments. And also, that is a position that's fully funded as well.
Thank you, Jim. Do my board members have any questions before I entertain a motion?
No, I don't, sir.
Okay, I will entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, give me 1 second. I just need to bring up the names, that's all. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I motion that we appoint Raymond Haig as the Assistant Plumbing and Gas Inspector.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Dr. Sopapis
Aye.
and Selectman Hull
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye, and that passes.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jeffrey Mello for the position of Weights and Measures Inspector.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Selectman Sopapis,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. It passes. Thank you, Mr. Aguirre, for those recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, board. I appreciate the support.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Our next agenda item is with Tom Ferry, Highway Superintendent. Is Mr. Ferry present?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh,
So-
you want me
Good evening,
to read the letter for us?
Sure, please.
This is from Mr. Ferry as well as Mike Mullin, the town administrator. We write today to recommend approving the enclosed proposed agreement between the town of Dayton and Bennett BETA Group, Inc. for the Pleasant Street over Muddy Cove Bridge replacement engineering. We have worked diligently to solicit proposals for the important engineering project since the approval of funding for this purpose was approved at the recent special town meeting. We are confident in the Bennett Group ability to work with us, continuing moving this important project forward. During our review of the proposals, we recognize the Bennett Group specifically niche in completing the engineering for bridge replacement projects. Particularly important in this project are the combined impacts that Muddy Cove, the Taunton River, and Muddy Cove Lane will have in the engineering of this project, specifically with regard to the geotechnical and hydraulic reports that will be completed as part of the engineering process. You will see in the accompanying agreement and backup information that the proposed agreement will take us through preliminary design and engineering for this project. The Bennett Group brings significant experience to this project in identifying federal and state grant infrastructure funding needed to further advance the project, including recent approval of federal infrastructure funding. We will plan to build final design, permitting, bid specification documents and related tasks into the full construction budget as we work to further identify a funding source to complete the full construction of this project. So Mr. Ferry, I turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, myself and Mr. Mullins been working on this for a few months now, diligently, kind of prodding him and aggravating him a little bit. But we want to be ready and moving forward with the possible grants out there and whatnot. We also have present tonight Mark and Bob from Beta Group. if you have any more technical questions, but as far as the procurement stuff, I direct you right to Mike for that.
So, do you have anything you want to add, Mike?
So no, just yeah, like since actually like, even before special town meeting, the highway superintendent and I, have been working on this and working to procure this as well. Oh, there are a number of firms out there that we have worked with as a town in the past, and that we continue to work with, and we evaluated all of them. Oh, like in all the firms who solicit, who submitted proposals. But again, I mean, based on evaluating Beta's work, what they do, what they're known for, in terms of specifically engineering bridge projects, and the importance, and the importance of really getting this project right. We're very happy and we're very confident in the Beta Group's expertise and their ability to get this really done for us. And hopefully be able to compete with the recently approved federal infrastructure funding, which we're looking at right now as a very helpful funding source for this project. So that's why we want to get this moving. We want to keep everything moving forward, so we can hopefully have a shot at that funding.
So my only question is, to Mike and as well as Mr. Ferry, are you confident? Do you like the timetable as far as when the project will be completed, when we're going to get reports and stuff like that?
So yes, as you probably noticed, and I forget exactly where it is in the proposed agreement. I believe the timeline is towards the end, but in writing what the Beta Group has submitted is a year's as 12 months in time. In talking with them, and they can probably speak to this as well, but talking with them the end of last week, they thought the 12 months was on the conservative end, as a fail safe, if you will. And they expressed their ability to very much be able to, come in and have everything done well in advance of that. But, I don't want to speak for them. So Mark, or so if you want to add anything, Mark Gershwin from Beta Group.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mike. Yes. So as Mike said, we did put in a schedule of 12 months to be, it is on the conservative side. We weren't sure when the town was going to move forward, and then we weren't sure if we're going to get any snow, which apparently we are, which certainly delays anything we have to do in the field as far as delineation and survey and the boring. So 12 months is conservative. We should be able to do it much less than that.
And Mark, is it my understanding you're going to be able to assist us in trying to get some infrastructure monies from the infrastructure bill that Congress passed?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been monitoring that as well as Mike is, and I think moving this project forward and being ready to take advantage of some of that funding would be a good thing.
Yeah, thank you for that. Selectman Socrates or Selectman Hull, do you have any questions?
Actually have a question for Mr. Mullen.
Yes.
Have you reached out to Pat Haddad to see if the Commonwealth of Massachusetts could be of some assistance, either
Yes.
for a sponsoring bill?
So yes, and so Representative Haddad specifically on this project has been very, very, very helpful already. So I think it was about 2 years ago now, right before COVID, the representatives worked at the time had been working on trying to secure us funding for the superstructure replacement on the bridge. So it actually was very close to securing approximately $700,000 for us. However, then right at the same time, that is when the COVID pandemic hit, and the state at that point understandably shifted their attention, in the supplemental budget that they had in the works at the time was shelved. Since then, when we met with Representative Haddad, actually last spring, Rep Haddad reached out and asked for the town's priorities as they relate to the ARPA funding that the federal government has made available to state and local governments. We flagged this project for her then, and we flagged this project for her and called attention to it when we met with her in the fall as well. One of the challenges that we've had, even though we had the $700,000, we have the $700,000 almost secure for the construction funding, has been the fact that we really can't apply for any grant funding, but we can't actually right now apply for any grant funding for this because we don't actually have the engineering design done. So with the funding with the funding that the town approved at special town meeting, this actually puts us in a far better position. And that's why Mr. Ferry had mentioned as well. That's why we want to move forward on this now. So, and hopefully we have the ability to apply and seek Rep. Haddad's help. On the federal infrastructure funding, we'll have the engineering and design work done and more, and have this whole project more shovel ready, Mr. Hull.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments from the board?
Yes. But that was a kind of confusing answer. There is no actual guarantee that we'll get any money.
No, there's not. Nope.
Okay, so we need to make that clear. The other thing is, I think we shouldn't just have all of this fall on State Representative Haddad. I think we need to engage our state senator as well, Mr. Pacheco. I'm sure that he would be more than willing and happy to help us as well in any way that he can in his capacity as the Dean of the Senate. So I think that we should make a concerted effort to reach out to him as well. Yep. My question for the Beta Group is Beta Group only doing the engineering, and then when the time comes when work is ready to be done and funding is in place, I'm being vague because those are parts that are still moving, a different company would do the actual work, correct?
Correct. We are an engineering firm, not contractors. So we'll work with the town to design and permit this project and bid it. And then contractors will bid on that and actually do the work.
And why are we having to, I don't know the right phrasing. Why are we having to seek funding from the infrastructure bill? Is none of that actually guaranteed to trickle down to us as a funding source for this?
I haven't heard that anything is guaranteed at this point with regards to the federal infrastructure funding law. I mean, we assume at some point it will, and we've heard many representations how it could be made available, but I haven't heard any guarantee at this point.
So is it just a bunch of communities competing essentially for a piece of the pie? Is that how that's going to work? And I ask because that's very different than how the American Rescue Plan Act funds were distributed and divvied up.
I haven't heard anything about, I haven't heard anything specifically about how the federal infrastructure funding will be made available. There hasn't been any mention about the federal infrastructure funding being made available all on a per capita basis as the ARPA funding is. But I'm not sure if anyone from the Beta Group has heard anything different. But that's why, to your point earlier, Dr. Z, we're not putting all of our eggs in any basket. However, we know in order to be eligible for anything, we're going to be in a far better position if we have the engineering and design done.
Okay, last question, I'm sorry. So regarding the lack of clarity that it seems like all municipalities probably have on the infrastructure bill that passed and was signed into law, is there any way that we can engage our federal officials like Congressman Auchincloss's office. We have contacts there, and maybe they would be able to give us a little bit more detailed information. And the answer might just be that nobody knows, and that's government sometimes. But we might have a better chance of getting some real answers by reaching out to him. He is on the Financial Services Committee and might have a little bit of insight. That's all.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we have to wait for the engineering study first. I mean, we could clearly contact Congressman Jake and state representatives, but I'm not sure how far we can go with that without this engineering study completed.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Selectman
question.
Hull? Selectman Hull?
When you usually have a project, my experience has been that you do a feasibility study, you put together a building committee. There have been many questions that have been asked this evening. Dr. Sagafis, I would like you to know that I've been waiting for Senator Pacheco's office to return a phone call that I had requesting a meeting with Town Administrator Mullen and myself since December. Mrs. Haddad has really gone out of her way to help us and support us. I was wondering if it would be assistance to Mark, Mr. Mullen, and Mr. Ferry if a building committee were established. People who have contacts on that committee. We ask a lot about town administrator. He is pulled in many different directions. And I feel that if we had even some members from the Board of Selectmen on a subcommittee to look into this, that one, we could secure funding, and two, have a timeline, a plan, a financial plan. Mr. Mullen, has this been reviewed by capital outlay?
The project, so we brought the engineering funding to capital outlay's attention. To capital outlay's attention when we went for the $150,000 prior to special town meeting. However, like after we go through the engineering, we're gonna know and have a more real life number about the type of funding we're gonna need for the full bridge replacement. So to answer your question, only in part, we've only talked about the engineering, not the construction funding with them.
So if we had a plan with stages and timelines for either some answers or at least ask some questions to the appropriate people, whether it be federal level or state level, so that something, we get distracted and pulled in many, many different directions. I think if we had a committee that was working together on this, our focus may, and our efforts may be more successful.
So I mean, so yeah, like in through you, Mr. Chairman, but also the beta group, like has done these projects, like it works and has worked with cities and towns. I mean, in a wide variety of examples. Like I'm just wondering too, they deal with these projects and the uncertainty of funding, of these projects way more often than we do. So I'm just wondering if anyone from the beta group has any thoughts on the questions and the questions that have been asked about funding from the federal government with the infrastructure bill, how we might be able to plan based on all these things evolving at the same time. Mark, do you have any thoughts?
I would just say we have no further clarification than you have, Mike, unfortunately, on how the infrastructure money is going to be appropriated or distributed. Unfortunately, right now, because of the size of the bridge, there is no funding mechanism for cities and towns in Massachusetts because of the size of this particular bridge. So it's really left to the municipalities to find funding either through town meeting or Chapter 90 or through this infrastructure program.
Mr. Ferry?
Yes, thank you. A lot of good input right now. I just want to try to circle back a little bit. And I also should have started with, we're discussing the worst bridge we have in town. It's got the lowest rating. It's already got a weight limit on it of 7 ton, which is being, that's being modest. It's being monitored closely with scouring and Spalding with some severe structural issues. This is the next step, regardless of the funding. This is where we need to be at this point. The funding for this discussion tonight has already been funded in the last special town meeting, and I employed all 3 selectmen and continue Mr. Mullins' efforts on seeking further funding. This will make us very attractive. From time to time, the state does have like small bridge programs and whatnot, but again, like Mark was saying, the size of the bridge makes it unique and troublesome to match these type of funds that are available. But to move forward on our responsibility as being good stewards of our structures, this is the next step.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Ferry.
just,
Dr. Z, you have your hand up?
No, I just wanted to say I totally understand and agree with Mr. Ferry's point, but and it's not, my questions certainly don't have any impact on, you know, us supporting or me supporting Beta Group doing the engineering services, but I do think we need to have start a conversation and us thinking about how we can continue moving this along, especially once the engineering services part is completed. We don't want to complete that part and then hold up the project from actually being completed because we have no idea how it's going to be funded. So that's why I asked my questions. I think I totally agree, and I'm going to support Beta Group doing the engineering services tonight. I think Mr. Ferry and Town Administrator Mullen did a really good job on this, and I know it was a long labor of love, so I really appreciate it.
Mark, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wouldn't necessarily wait for us to go through the preliminary design before you reach out to either your state or federal representatives. I would do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them the town's moving forward with this important infrastructure project, as Tom mentioned, and I wouldn't wait. I'd start that process now.
Sorry.
Mr. Mullen, you were going to say something when I interrupted you, I think.
so yeah, like then I think we're really all on the same page here. Like I just have 2 thoughts. Number one, just one other grant opportunity that I know is out there. One other grant opportunity I know is out there, like is the community one-stop program. And we as a community, we do qualify for rural grants. And we actually submitted like in last year's round, we did submit a statement of interest to get funding for the bridge under that program. However, as soon as we got into that application, it began asking for engineering information. So like this is why with actually being armed with this information, like is going to help us. I mean, like in a whole host of areas. But like in 2 of the points that have been raised about, how we work on funding. I mean, I do. So actually, I do think Selectman Hull, he brings up a really good point. I mean, I think, I don't think we're going to have to wait to the end of this process to actually have a number to present to capital. So to have a number to present to capital outlay. So we can get in the queue. I mean, I think relatively shortly, once we have some additional information estimates.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, I mean, if, like in line with the 5-year plans, like if there is a member of the Board of Selectmen, who would like to liaise with the highway superintendent and myself on this project, actually keeping it at the forefront and making sure we're leveraging all the types of things we should be and thinking about. I do actually think that could be really helpful on this.
Dr. Z, your hand up?
Yes. So I also think that it's a good idea so that, the Board of Selectmen is in the loop, and then there's people that can pick up different tasks. So not just one person is doing a bulk of the work. The other suggestion I would make, to Selectman Hull's point, and I have not spoken to them about this, so I don't know if this is something they would even be willing in or interested in helping us with, but I know former Selectman Goulart, Assessor Goulart, helped obviously get us the new, I mean, it's been a few years now, but the new Dighton Berkeley Bridge. They have a lot of experience in this realm. And I suspect that if we were to reach out to her to ask for her thoughts on this, she would be more than willing to help. And I don't mean to speak for her, but I know her. She's a very helpful person, but she's also a wealth of knowledge, especially when it comes to bridges. So that's my suggestion.
Really good point.
That's a good point, Dr. Z. Very good point. I will entertain a motion at this time. If there's no further questions.
Oops, sorry. No further questions. Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the agreement for professional services between the town of Dighton and Beta Group, Inc. at 315 Norwood Park South, Norwood, Massachusetts, 02062, for the Pleasant Street over Muddy Cove Inlet Bridge replacement as presented this evening.
Is there a
Second that.
Any further discussion?
Excellent work from Mr. Ferry and our town administrator.
Ditto. I'll call for a vote. Dr. Z,
Aye.
Selectman Hull?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye, and that passes. Thank you, Mark, for your presentation, and we look forward to seeing your report.
Thank you very much. We look forward to working with the town.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mike. We'll be in touch. And Tom,
Yep. Thank you. Have a good night.
you too.
I do agree with what Dr. Z said about seeing if former Selectwoman Nancy Goulart is interested in participating in this and getting involved. So can we reach out to her, Mike?
Yes. Yes, no, absolutely. She is our resident bridge expert. So
Yep.
definitely do that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is we received a letter to whom it may concern from Nicholas Sisson. Please be advised, I have an opportunity for other employment that I feel would be a good move for myself and my family. I do thank the town for the opportunity to work here, and I will miss working with my coworkers here. My last day here will be February 4th, 2022, and it's signed Nicholas Sisson. It's too bad we're losing him, obviously. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept resignation of Nicholas Sisson, effective February 5th, 2022. Since his last day will be the 4th.
Is
Second,
there a second? Any discussion?
we thank and appreciate all that he did while he was here.
Thank.
Yes.
I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull
Aye.
and Dr. Z
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye, and that passes. Is there any public input? Are there any hands raised?
Hey,
There's no-
Robert Woods here. How you doing?
Hi, please give us your name and your address, please.
Yeah, Robert Woods, 158 Chase Street. And I would just like to give my condolences also to the Glenna Smith's family. She was a wonderful woman to work with, and she'll be greatly missed.
Thank
That's
you,
all I
Mr.
have. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, Mr. Woods.
Thank you.
Under announcements, I'll read 2 announcements and then I'll ask Dr. Z to read the rest of the announcements. First one, this is on our Facebook page, by the way, Dighton's Facebook page. Receive personalized real-time outage information. Sign up to receive alerts via text, phone calls, or email when your power goes out. We will notify you when we detect an outage on your property, have restoration estimates and updates, or have restored power to your address. For email or phone alerts, log into your account and update your preferences. If you don't have an online account, register here. Or text REG to 64743. To get text alerts, have your 10-digit account number ready. After you sign up, you will receive alerts when there's an outage on your property, restoration estimates and updates, and notifications when power is restored. So again, once register, you can text out OUT to 64743 to report an outage, and an STAT stat to 64743 to check your restoration status. The other announcement I will make is town election notices, positions that are open. It's the Board of Assessors for 3 years, DR Regional School Committee member for 3 years, Park and Recreation for 3 years, Planning Board for 5 years, Public Library Trustee for 3 years, Selectmen for 3 years, Sewer Commissioner for 3 years, Town Clerk for 3 years, Town Collector for 3 years, Town Moderator for 1 year, and Town Treasurer for 3 years. And Dr. Z, would you read the rest of the announcements, please?
Yes, sir. Free rapid tests are being offered to all residents in the United States. The pre-order period for the at-home COVID-19 tests via www.covidtests.gov has begun. Every household in the United States is eligible to order 4 free at-home COVID-19 tests. The tests are completely free and will usually ship in 7 to 12 days. Fantastic news. The Dighton Lions Food Club Food Bank distribution will be held next at 8 a.m. on Saturday, February 19th, 2022 at Town Hall in the lower level 979 Somerset Avenue. The town clerk's office is looking for citizens interested in becoming election workers for elections and town meetings. If interested or you would like more information, please reach out to the town clerk's office by calling 508-669-5411, option 2. And I'm sure our town clerk, Mark Pacheco, will be really delighted to hear from you. There will be a special election held on Saturday, March 5th, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Dighton Elementary School for the proposed Bristol Plymouth Regional Technical School Building project. Also, there's more information on that project that our town administrator has placed on our town website as well. There is a townwide parking ban in effect through April 1st, 2022. No person shall allow their vehicle to be parked on the street so as to obstruct snow removal, and we may get snow this weekend, so please abide by the parking ban for our highway department to be able to clear our roads. A reminder that open burning season is from January 15th through May 1st between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. A $10 permit from the Dighton Fire Rescue is required prior to open burning, and I believe you are also able to order those permits online now at DightonFire.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Mike,
Yes,
have we got a confirmation on the BP meeting with the residents and the Board of Selectmen in town?
we're getting close to Mr. Chairman. So like, and I really want to thank Miss Brady on this. She's been working very, very diligently. We hope to have a date confirmed very soon. I'm not sure if Miss Brady has heard anything in the last hour or so, but that's the last I heard.
I haven't, but I do expect to hear back from her tomorrow.
Okay, once we find out when that date is, can we post it on our Facebook page? Because it may be before our next Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so this-
absolutely. We'll get the word out.
Yes, so this, for those that are online or on Zoom, this is a meeting that we're going to have with BP. They can explain to us what their plans are with building a new school and how much it's going to cost. And the residents and the public will be invited to ask any questions that they wish to have. And this will be the only agenda item for that night. So, thank you. Next agenda item is the town administrator's reports and town accountant report.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the heading is a misnomer because we used the same heading from last week. And I did ask the town accountant if she had anything that she wanted to report, and she did decline. But I just want to report a few things. We received actually a letter. Like our town council received a letter the end of last week on the 18th. From the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General's office by statute, as you know, the Attorney General's office is responsible for reviewing the approved bylaws that have been approved at our town meetings. And so they are in the process of reviewing Article 5 and Article 33 from the special town meeting we had in November. Article 5 is the flag bylaw, and Article 33 was the bylaw that was approved that established a Commission on Disability bylaw in town. So by statute, the Attorney General's office have the ability to request an extension for the review, for their review, and that's what they've done in these matters. It's a perfunctory type of approval that they did reach out to town council attorney David Gay, and he did give him that approval. He did give them, the Attorney General's office, his approval on the town's behalf. So we can now expect the review and the decisions on Articles 5 and 33 somewhere before May 29th of this calendar year. So I just wanted to share that update with you and share that update with the Dayton residents as well. Any
Thank you.
questions on that?
I don't have any.
No,
Selectman Segravas?
You may not have an answer to this, and I apologize, Town Administrator Mullen. Did the Attorney General's office make any determinations on anything else that had passed the town meeting from November 1st?
So they're only responsible for reviewing the bylaws and the bylaws themselves. So that. So anytime after an annual special town meeting, a lot of things based on town meeting approval, we have the ability to do. However, when it comes to the implementation of bylaws, we do have to send the approved bylaws to the Attorney General's office for review.
No, I understand that part. My question was, I thought that there was a kennel bylaw that we were waiting to hear back to, but I think that might not have passed, and that's why.
The kennel bylaw, I forget, it was either voted down or tabled based on the regulations not being in place to back up the bylaw. So that was not approved.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not remembering correctly. Now I understand. So it's just these two that they were reviewing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the kennel bylaw was either tabled or there was no motion. I'm not sure exactly what
I
it
think
was,
it was
but
tabled.
yeah, there was no vote on it.
there was no voter.
So I wanted to give everyone a heads up on that, and just an update on that. In the meantime, I just want to pull up my notes because I have a few other quick updates. Last week we had our audit with our independent auditors. And I want to thank the town accountant, Treasurer Hathaway, the assistant town accountant, and the staff in the Board of Selectmen's office for their work to make it actually really seamless and productive process. We spent some time with our auditors last week, and as you know, for the last 2 fiscal years, we have had a comment about our police detail account. And we really spent some time working with our auditors, and with Chief McDonald, Lieutenant Cronin, and the staff at the PD. And I think we made some headway in addressing it. So that is, I'm very happy with that. We do expect the completed financial statements and any management letters to be delivered to us in line with our credit rating disclosure requirements. And that, in our credit rating disclosure requirements, we have a mid to late March deadline on those. So as we can expect FY21 updated financial statements and any management letter by then. But we worked really well with our auditors. They pointed out some things, in our town accountant, has been amazing, and her experience was a huge help in that as well. So that went very well, Mr. Chairman. I did want to just briefly speak about personnel policies. As I think we all know, one of our biggest So one of our biggest challenges as a town, is the fact that we don't have a uniform set of personnel policies for both our union and non-union, employees. We have a policy handbook, but we don't have a specific personnel policy. So this has been discussed a lot, like over the last 10 months or so, and the impact that has on how we do employment contracts for non-union personnel and a lot of other things. So like still actually working with the executive assistant Brady, like we have been taking a look at the policies in other towns to see, like in the coming weeks and months, if we might be able to work with the board and our employees to see if we can blend together a set of personnel policies that work for Dayton. So like we're in the infancy of that. We'll keep our, so we're in the infancy of that, and we'll keep the board, we'll keep our employees and non-union employees updated in the loop and at the table as we go forward. But we just actually wanted to provide that update as well. And I think Dr. Z has a question.
Yes, Dr. Z.
It's not so much of a question, it's more of a comment. So this, I assume, is stemming from some suggestions or recommendations that our former assistant town accountant, Mrs. McCarron, had left us regarding some difficulties with not having, I guess I'll use your phrase, a set of personnel policies to guide, for example, how to handle non-union employees. I think it's a little easier with union employees because the union outlines a lot of what employees are entitled to and things like that. So I'm definitely obviously going to support this idea. I do think one of the, I don't want to say hurdles, I guess, is that we already have some employees in contracts. So in terms of trying to keep everything fair by writing policies, I think there are some, and I'm not saying it's impossible to do, it's just some complications by having some employees in contracts, right? And I'm not talking about collective bargaining agreements, I'm talking about contracts between the town and the employee directly, and some employees not in contracts. So I just would want us to keep that in mind, obviously, as we proceed forward in having this conversation.
No, absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts. And the advent of this is not a simple process. There are a lot of moving parts and complexities where, just at the beginning of it, and it's not an overnight process. So, but we're just at the beginning. So, and as we go forward, there's a lot of things. So there are a lot of things that we'll need to consider, I think. There are things that we're going to need input from the Board of Selectmen on as well. There are things that we may need input from the unions on. So we'll do that as we roll out this whole process. But right now we're at the beginning stages. And as we go forward, we'll keep everyone in the loop because that's what we do. So,
Selectman Hull, you have a question?
Yes. Mr. Mullen, is there a personal policy committee that reviews policies, procedures, human resources issues?
We have a bylaw review committee but we do have a policy review committee. But
that's for the union. That's to have union representation, Selectman Hull, voices at the table for policies that we've passed.
Right, but nothing for non-union employees.
Nothing official like that, no.
Now, I'm just wondering, would it be possible, since you do it for the union employees, could that committee also review policies and comings and goings, business practices in town hall in regards to interactions with people and what is fair and equitable between those employees who aren't in a union contract? So we
Can I
don't
make
end up
this? That's a
pitting
good
one
point.
against the other.
Mhm.
Dr. Z?
I think that's a really good point, Selectman Hull. When we were doing the actual policy manual, yes, we ran things like the workplace violence policy by the policy review board because that could potentially impact, obviously, collective bargaining and things like that. Those policies also were provided to employees and to the residents at large, as we do for things like input. But I don't see any harm in even adding maybe non-union representatives to the policy review board that already exists and just expanding it, because you already have something that already exists and now you're just expanding it to include a non-union representation, we'll call it.
Thank you.
Good point.
Are there any other questions for Mike?
So-
Actually,
Oh, sorry.
I do.
Selectman Hull?
Usually in the town administrative report or directly in the agenda
Mhm.
is a report, or referred to it as a COVID update. I was
Yes.
wondering, I also noticed that Ms. Mello is Zooming with us this evening. I was wondering if Mr. Mullen has that. I see it's coming up now on the screen. Thank you.
Yes. So yes, and part of the challenges with the open meeting law is oftentimes I need to, I need to try to organize the kinds of updates that I have like a little in advance, and sometimes I'm able to do that effectively and sometimes not. But like I did want to, and we do have a public health nurse who's been an amazing addition to our team as well, so if she has anything to add. But I did and was hoping to provide 2 COVID-related updates to the board really quickly. One is actually like about like our COVID case count and where and status on the number of cases that we've had in town for the last 2 weeks. Last week, we had 61 confirmed cases. The week before that, we had a total of 90 cases. So that brings our 2-week case count to 151 cases, which is still very high. It's where we were. Like that represents very much on the higher side of where we've been as a town. But in terms of the Omicron surge that we've all been dealing with, we can also see, hopefully, that the Omicron, may have peaked, and now we might be on, on the downswing. So I did want to share that with the board and with the community as well. And also, in this spreadsheet, which is included in the packet, has information on residents who are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and so forth. Also included in the packet was an email that was sent to me from the public health nurse actually yesterday morning. And it reads, "Good morning, Mike. I know that the weekly COVID data has been sent to you that you present at the Board of Selectmen meeting. Some additional data I find worth noting is that in the last 30 days, we have had 400 cases. Of the 400 cases, 232 cases were vaccinated, which represents a 58%, and 167 were not, which equals out to 42%. And then the email goes on to say, I present this data not to discourage folks from getting vaccinated, as it has shown to decrease severe illness and death, but as a reminder that regardless of vaccination status, if folks feel ill, to be mindful that COVID is still a possibility for them. So I think that is helpful information that combined with the data that we're seeing. And if I could, Mr. Chairman, we do have the public health nurse who's joined us as well. If she has anything to add on that, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for reading my email. I thought that was important information for people to know, just as while we're doing contact tracing, we're hearing a lot of families having a positive individual in the house, but because others are vaccinated, not maybe taking as many precautions because there's less of that fear of getting COVID. And they have changed the data from the CDC, changing the quarantine to reflect this. At one point, we weren't having people that were vaccinated quarantine, and now we are if they're not boosted or if they're past that 5 months with the Moderna, and the Pfizer are past that 2 months with the Johnson & Johnson. So I just thought it was important for people to stay vigilant. Sometimes it's just a stuffy nose and it's easy to dismiss it as maybe just a cold. So especially now that we're getting these at-home tests and stuff, testing's getting a little bit easier. So I just wanted residents to be aware. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mullen. Just for some clarification on the data that was just mentioned regarding what we get on a weekly basis. We get this information on a Monday and it's always updated and the numbers go up higher. For example, the week ending January 2nd, on a Monday, we got the numbers of positive being 69. It ended up being 93. The following week, it was 113, was given to us on Monday. It was updated to 145. January 16th, that previous week, it was 79, updated to 90, and now we got 61, and I'm sure that's going to be updated. I think what Ms. Mello pointed out, that how important it is to be vaccinated. For example, South Coast Hospitals, which includes Toby, St. Luke, and Charlton Memorial, just a couple of weeks ago, posted of the 150, I think it's 154 inpatient patients with COVID, 67% were unvaccinated, 30% was vaccinated, and 3% were vaccinated and boosted, which tells me how important it is to be vaccinated and boosted. And I am pleased to say that of my immediate family, 10 of us, 9 of us are fully vaccinated and boosted, and my youngest grandson is not eligible yet for the booster. So I think it's very important that we get vaccinated and boosted. This prevents some serious illness. It doesn't eliminate it, but it prevents some serious illness, which means even if you're hospitalized, the chances are you won't have to be put on a ventilator. And it's those people who are not vaccinated, unfortunately, are the ones that are being hospitalized with serious illness and unfortunately passing away. So I think it is, when the vaccines first came out, I think we were maybe given some misinformation into thinking that because you're vaccinated, you only have a 5% chance of getting COVID. We see with the Omicron variant that it's very transferable and a lot of people are getting it, and the chances are most of us are going to get it at some point. I agree with Mr. Mullen says. The numbers seem to be decreasing. Hospitalizations, they think will still go up for the next couple of weeks, but the numbers of the positive cases will start to go down, as we're seeing in the numbers that we're getting from the Board of Health, our local Board of Health. So thank you, Ms. Mello, for your email and your comments. Anything else, Ms. Mello, you wish to add?
No, that was it. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. That you made a good point about the numbers and the fact that I don't know if we'll ever really have accurate numbers, especially when we're really rolling out the at-home tests, and those don't get reported to anyone. Yeah. So thank you for that.
That's true.
Mr. Chairman, I do have something. Thank you. I've received many comments, concerns regarding Zoom meeting. I understand the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, or at least the governor's office, has said that April 1st, in-person meetings will happen. I'm also an individual who believes in statistics-based decision-making. There was a time we had a task force that reviewed numbers through the Board of Health, made recommendations. We did not take a vote to go to Zoom. I am not questioning whether that was a sound decision. Based on these numbers, I think it was. But I think we need to provide to the voters a little bit of transparency about where we're going with this. And maybe either through the Board of Health or coming up with numbers that indicate that it is wise to return to hybrid meeting. I don't know if that's something that the Board of Health would want to help us make that recommendation. But I think for the sake of transparency, that there be a logical explanation why we make decisions that we've made about being in Zoom. It
Sure.
makes our
Yeah.
decision-making process that much easier with the town when they know that the numbers indicate we are going in one direction or the other.
Sure, when this came up a couple of meetings ago, if I remember correctly, I mentioned that perhaps our next meeting would be Zoom, and both you and Selectman Hull indicated that you would respect my opinion. I did speak to the Board of Health, and I did see the numbers. And like I said, they indicated that when I made that final decision on that Monday, it was 113. That number was increased after that to 145. The numbers were going up. Talk about transparency.
I'm not questioning your-
Selectman Hull, let me finish.
Okay.
Talk about transparency. I mentioned at that meeting, the chairman makes a decision whether or not to have a Zoom meeting or to have a hybrid meeting or just to have a public meeting. That's what the chairman does. I can't speak to you about it. I can't speak to Dr. Z about it because that's a violation of the open meeting law. So I made a decision. I absolutely hate Zoom meetings. I think a lot of people hate Zoom meetings. However, for the safety of the public, the safety of our employees, I will make that decision based on the statistics that I see. And I made it last week, the week before, and this week, based on what I saw are the numbers. We've had 9 people die in this town. I don't want to hear about number 10 because I was negligent by having a public meeting, people coming in. We encourage people to wear masks. Most don't wear a mask. I wear a mask, but if everybody wore a mask, I'd feel more comfortable about it. I'm not about to mandate masks, but until I see the numbers going down, and right now the numbers aren't going down very much, there will be a Zoom meeting. I do hope and feel that when we have the BP meeting, when there's going to be a lot of public input, I hope that we're going to be able to have a hybrid meeting because there's going to be a lot of interest in that and a lot of people are going to want to ask questions. But I made the decision. I don't lose any sleep over this, and I believe it was the right decision.
I am not questioning whether you made the right decision or not. What I'm asking is for some perimeters so that the public knows where this is going. So that this decision is based on objective numbers, not on a subjective decision made by the chairman of this committee.
Well, as I indicated at that meeting when I talked about having a Zoom meeting, I said I will look at the numbers, and which is exactly what I did. I went to the Board of Health that morning, asked what the numbers were, and they were given to me of 113, ended up being 145. The numbers have gone up. This is the highest our numbers have been in a year. So it's not like I'm just, a year ago when we were doing Zoom, the numbers were less than this. Nobody was concerned about it. Nobody was complaining about that. I wasn't the chairman. A decision was made, and I was in full agreement with that decision. When I see the numbers going down substantially, we will return to a hybrid meeting. But right now, they're going down, but not, as far as I'm concerned, rapidly enough. But all indications are that in Massachusetts, the numbers are going down. Other parts of the country, the numbers are going up, but we're going down, and I look forward to being able to have a hybrid meeting. So I've been pretty transparent about this. I made it clear as to what I was going to make my decision based on. So, Dr. Z?
My only observation on this, and I think we all three of us, and probably everybody on the line agrees that we would all prefer to be in person, obviously. My only observation that I make is that, and I saw some emails that came into the office, and I understand and respect that people want us to be in person, and I really, really do. Because I think we all prefer to be in person as well. There's more of a human connection with the people in the audience that come to watch the meeting. But my only observation is I find it a little curious that we get all these emails about having Zoom only meetings, and the sewer commission, which has, 3 members just like us, has been meeting, I believe, Zoom only pretty much the entire pandemic. And I haven't heard of any public outrage over that. So to me, and again, respect everybody's opinion, but it does feel a little bit like selective outrage. I will say that. And again, I support the chairman's decision. It's not my decision to make, but I support it. And it would be the decision that I would make if I were the chair.
And the planning board is meeting Zoom also, and they've got a meeting scheduled for the middle of February, towards the end of February, which is already said it's going to be a Zoom meeting only. So
have they received any emails?
Yeah. What's that, please?
Have they received any angry emails?
I don't believe they have. I haven't asked them, quite frankly, but it's to the point where somebody had asked that I resign from the Board of Selectmen because I made a decision to go Zoom, which is ludicrous.
And nobody asked for the sewer commission chair to resign or the planning board chair to resign. Only you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, it does. Any other further comments on this?
No.
If not, thank you, Town Administrator, for your report. Any old business? Yes, Mike.
I just have one other quick thing, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. So, I just wanted to provide one additional update relating to prime time. I updated the board individually this month. We at the beginning of the month had to temporarily close prime time. And we had to deal with a potential COVID-19 cluster concern. We did meet. As a result of that, we had a concern. We dealt with it immediately. And then we met actually about a week and a half ago with you, Mr. Chairman, with the health agent, with the public health nurse, the fire chief, and others. And we agreed on a reopen date on March 1st. And the March 1st date would allow us to get through the current surge. And get back to a place where it is more, more safe and healthy. More safe and healthy for our vulnerable senior residents to go. And we all have them. More confidence that we're, actually could be in a better place public health wise to have that happening. So I just wanted to update you and the board, Mr. Chairman. As you were at the meeting where we talked about, how we got there and how we can move forward. But I did want to, provide that update to the full board and to the residents as well.
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Selectman Hull, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen, Board of Health.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume that they're involved in this decision-making process, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. So I just want to clarify that the full board hasn't, but the health agent and the public health nurse have been, and I imagine that the chairman of the Board of Health and the full Board of Health has been kept updated as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that's all finally that I have, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. There is no old business on the selectmen's reports and comments. We're updating our 5-year plan. I'll read mine first. One of my 5-year plans is to make Dayton accessible as much as possible for all of our residents. We have made a lot of progress this past year. We received $118,835 from MassDOT Shared Streets and Spaces Grant. This grant has allowed the town to provide ADA compliant curb ramps, curb cuts, accessible sidewalks for wheelchairs, and clearly delineated crosswalks for pedestrians throughout the town. Dayton was awarded also a $151,250 grant from the Massachusetts Office of Disabilities. This was the highest grant that the state gave in 2021. This grant will provide the town with updated bathroom facilities with electric doors on the first floor of our town hall. It will also give us a new ramp in front of town hall. Old Town Hall will have electric doors added, accessible ramp for the stage, and accessible bathrooms. The grant will fully fund accessibility improvements at our tennis and basketball courts and at School Lane and Lane Field walkways and play areas. This grant will allow the town to purchase a mobile accessibility mats for playground areas in our new James Briggs Garden. This grant will provide funds for Dayton's website to improve accessibility. This would not have happened without the hard work provided by Town Administrator Mike Mullen, Selectman Brett Sografis, Chairman Kevin Smith of the Park and Recreation, Tom Ferry and his staff at the Highway Department, Building Commissioner James Aguirre, and especially our Town ADA Coordinator Jonathan Gale. We should all be proud of the work they have done to make our town more inclusive. My second goal is to have a new library for our town. As you may know, we closed the Andrew Carnegie Public Library when the pandemic began in March of 2020. We were not able to open up again because of violations. We had to find a temporary solution. On September 7th, Dayton Public Library Youth Services began operating out of the lower level of Town Hall. This is not the ideal situation, but I am told that the story time is well attended. On September 13th, the adult services were moved to the modular building at the Town Hall complex. I would like to thank Library Director Jocelyn Tavares and her staff, Jim Aguirre, Building Commissioner Tom Ferry and his staff at the Highway Department, Town Administrator Mike Mullen, and our ADA Coordinator Jonathan Gale for helping us with this transition. Dayton deserves a new library, and we are looking at all the options, and it's submitted by Ken Pacheco. Anybody else have their 5-year plans available? And I know also, Selectman Hull, you want to give us a report on the school committee search for superintendent, but anyone else have their 5-year plans?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I prepare something? I don't have anything in writing. Can I prepare something in writing and submit it for next meeting?
Absolutely. Yep.
Myself as well.
Yes. Selectman Hull, you had a report on the school superintendent?
Yes, I actually have a report on the superintendent search and the meeting that was held last evening, an update on a very important decision that they made. The Dayton Rehoboth Regional School District will be announcing a new superintendent on March 1st, who will begin his duties on July 1st, the retirement of Dr. Azar. Over the past week, we went through 25 applications and reduced our number to 7 people that we interviewed. And based on a decision made Monday night, following names were forwarded to the school committee for the final interviews and selection of that superintendent. 3 finalists that will be going forward are Dr. Craig Lewis of Attleboro. He is currently the superintendent of the Coventry, Rhode Island Public Schools. He is also certified in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Dr. Andrea Schwab of Hyannis. She is currently the assistant superintendent of Wareham Public Schools. And the 3rd finalist, Mr. William Rooney of Attleboro. He is currently the principal of Attleboro High School. As you can see, we had some very good candidates, and the school committee looks forward to doing final interviews and voting on a candidate. The second piece.
Selectman Hull, excuse me for a second. When is the school committee going to meet on that?
Well, they have a series of steps that they're going to take. I'm not exact. The first meeting, they are going to set ground rules. They are going to be doing a background search on the individuals. They are going to do community visits. Then they will do the interview of the 3 candidates, and they will make a decision on March 1st.
Thank you.
Last evening, the Dayton Rehoboth Regional School Committee announced the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education extended the mask mandate until February 28th. Our health agent has received several calls in regards to this, and it was addressed by the school committee last evening. Many parents and several members of the school committee voiced frustration and displeasure with the extension of this mandate. As a result, the school board voted to send a letter to Bessie expressing their concern regarding the continuation of this mandate. In speaking with Mr. Pilling about this matter, he has made it clear that he is obligated to follow the laws and mandates of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And as a result, several of the activities that the school have had, he has insisted that the mask mandate be followed. This is met with some displeasure by people. However, the school committee last evening reinforced the point that they will follow the laws and mandates of the Commonwealth. They will work through the process and express their displeasure through a letter rather than defiant. Thank you.
Dr. Z?
My question was pertaining to the first part of Selectman Hull's report. So first, I wanted to thank you so much for that report. It was really insightful. And as someone who was not privy to that process and certainly does not have the experience that you do to be involved in it, I wanted to thank you for that.
I want to thank you for letting me do it. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
No worries. Absolutely. We wouldn't have chosen anyone else. My question for you is, will the school committee be taking any kind of input from this pre-selection committee, or was that committee's job done once you forwarded the 3 names to them for consideration?
Everything that we did was covered by the open meeting law. Much of the discussion was held in executive session. That process is something that was recommended to us in NESDEC. So we handed 3 names to the school committee. They start the process over again. They draw their own conclusions. There were some members of the school committee that were on our committee.
Mm-hmm.
So they've heard our input. But we are bound by the rules of the executive session not to discuss our deliberations. So as a result, the school committee will draw their own conclusions. We gave them 3 names. They will check references. They will visit the communities, talk to people and references and employees and employers of those 3 individuals, and they will draw their own conclusion.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Also, Mr. Pacheco, thank you for extending your vote of confidence to allow me to participate in this process.
Thank you, Selectman Hull. Any other selectmen's reports? If not, we'll go to a new business. The next agenda item is review, discuss, and act on the job description for the Executive Director for the Council on Aging. Has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at that? Mike, do you want to add anything to it?
So I just want to pull it up so everyone can see it at home as well. But this job description, it is an updated, very much an updated job description for the Council on Aging Executive Director. And you'll actually see later in the agenda that there is a retirement announcement from our former director. But I spent some time actually, Mr. Ferry and I, as a chairman of the Council on Aging Board of Directors, spent some time the end of last week. We went through it, the updated job description that was left actually graciously by the prior town administrator. She's always helping me even now. And like we did want to make sure, like for example, if you look at the bottom of the first page in terms of the, like the vibrancy and the diversity of the services and the programs that's offered by the Council on Aging. Like we really wanted to make sure that that piece was in there as we go forward as well. But so Chairman Ferry and I, we spent some time on it. And I think this job description will hopefully put us like in very good shape as we go out and try to recruit and post the position in the coming week. So like we're here to answer any questions.
Does the board have any questions? If Selectman Hull, excuse me, Selectman Dr. Secroffice, I'm sorry.
Hey,
You
it's a
guys are too close
compliment.
together.
It's a compliment, not an insult. Don't apologize. My question would be, can you just summarize very briefly or highlight what may have changed in this job description from the prior one?
From the one that the prior town administrator had finalized?
If you don't mind.
Yep. So what we wanted to, and I'm just gonna go through really quickly. And so yeah, like we wanted to add, like we wanted to make sure the diversity was there. As we mentioned, we like we did a little, we did more wordsmithing really, Dr. Z. We didn't really change the content. And I'm just actually looking through because that's like a really good question. The second to last paragraph right here, the attends trainings, workshops, that paragraph in particular had a lot of outside of the office, type of requirements. And although we understand and agree, that being very active in your profession and, professional associations is critical, like the MCOA, we wanted to make sure that it was understood that, yes, it was expected, but we really wanted to make sure that it wasn't interpreted to be an overwhelming part of the job responsibility. So that was one of the things we really work to clarify. So in specifically in terms of the type of person, who in terms of the minimum qualifications, like we did, want to make sure that the minimum qualifications were all encompassing. We are in this position is a position in the human services field. As we know, the human services field is broad. Like it includes social work, it includes public health, like in a whole host of aspects within those fields. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't, actually limiting our applicant pool as well. And I think hopefully, like we struck the balance there. But also at the end of that, with the language or any equivalent combination, it like allows us to specify what we're really looking for, but also understand that that nothing is perfect in life, and flexibility is always helpful. Can I
ask? I have another question related to, and the only reason I stopped you is because I should have asked it first because it's at the very top. It's about the salary, okay?
Yes. Yep.
Now, I certainly don't have a problem paying a department head $55,000 to $65,000 a year for everything that they're expected to do. My concern is this, and maybe it's not a concern, it's just a question or a need for a clarification. So the previous director was the director of the Council on Aging and of Primetime, and they had salaries for both.
Yes.
My concern is if we're thinking, or the town expects, that the person who's the Council on Aging director will also be the Primetime director, or even if the town wants to fill both, to pay one position $55,000 to $65,000 and then to fund the other at around the same would be a big salary increase compared to what the prior person made. So has there been some thought about that?
Yes, I really just want to clarify, exactly what our expectation is. The executive director of the Council on Aging would, under this framework, be responsible for overseeing and managing Primetime as well.
Okay.
Oh, and you can see that.
Okay, I understand now. I'm sorry, Mike. Mr. Administrator, I was thinking that there would be another job description separately to follow. My apologies.
Yeah, no, this is all encompassing. So
Okay.
just really going to the end. One of the things we wanted to make sure as well, based on the programming that would be ideal at a Council on Aging Senior Center, but also at Primetime, in terms of the food safety and all that stuff. We also wanted to include the serve safe requirement for the next COA director. So we make sure that's a priority as well.
Are there any other questions about this?
Not at this time. Thank
If
you.
not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the revised job description for the Executive Director of the Council on Aging as prepared this evening.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not,
My other question, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
no, Dr. Z.
This will be added to the, as you had mentioned before, Mr. Administrator, the job descriptions, a lot of them had been updated when our prior town administrator were here. So I assume this would be added to that and replace the old one in that folder.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Dr. Z,
Aye,
and Campuchico's an aye. It passes.
good work.
The next item is a letter that we received. Dear Board, it is with great honor I am writing to inform you that effective on January 16, 2022, I am appointing Mr. Justin Dagnault as a new full-time firefighter paramedic to the fire department. Justin has successfully completed all of his pre-employment requirements. Justin is nationally registered paramedic and certified by the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy in Firefighting 1/2. I would also like to mention that Justin is the first full-time firefighter paramedic hired that started his fire department career with the Dayton Junior Firefighters. He then was appointed to call firefighters, to call firefighter EMT basic, to call firefighter paramedic, and now to his new role of full-time firefighter paramedic. Please join my department and I in congratulate Mr. Dagnault in his appointment. We look forward to work with him. Also, I'd like to say a big thank you to firefighter paramedic Tyler Nicolin of Local 4332, President Deputy Stephen Ponce, and Town Administrator Mike Mullen for all their assistance in the interview process. Without them, the process would not have been completed in such a timely manner. Thank you, Tyler, Deputy Ponce, and Administrator Mullen. Any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me. And this is from the Fire Chief, Chief McGee, Christopher McGee. I will entertain a motion to accept this letter.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, sorry.
I'd like, so moved.
There a second?
I'll second, the motion to recognize the appointment.
Is there any discussion?
No,
If-
I think that this is a fantastic choice. Justin is, I should say, firefighter EMT Dagno is a good person. He is very hardworking, and he clearly, the way he rose up through the ranks, he loves Dayton. It's his home. He's made it his home, and he'll hopefully be with the department a very long time. I also, Mr. Chairman, if I may, wanted to highlight that a lot of this is like the circle of life in a way. It's like things coming back full circle. Mr. Medeiros, who recently retired, who's still gonna stay on in some capacity with the fire department, started the junior firefighters program. And now Mr. Dagno, who was a junior firefighter, is now a full-time firefighter EMT. So thanks to the hard work of people that care, they are truly a family, the fire department. So I'm so happy to see this, and I will be voting yes.
Thank you. I'm going to call for a vote. Dr. Z,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. It passes.
Congratulations.
Town Administrator Mullen,
Yes.
can we discuss the next item without the Chairman of the Board of Health being present? I don't
Yeah,
mind.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the recommendation for a on-call station attendant, yes, that's okay. The following issue, we should wait and table it, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman.
So let me read the letter. It's addressed to the Board of Selectmen. At its regular meeting on January 13, 2022, the Board of Health reviewed the application of and interviewed one applicant for the on-call transfer station attendant position. This position will be utilized in the absence of Mr. Ryan's should the need arise. The current budget has sufficient funds to support this position with no additional cost to the town. This should also eliminate any potential overtime costs in the future for staffing the transfer station on a Saturday. The board recommends the appointment of John Lawrence to the position of part-time on-call transfer station attendant for the town of Dayton. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we appoint John Lawrence to the position of part-time on-call transfer station attendant.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Dr. Z
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye, and Selectman Hull,
Aye.
it passes. I'm going to entertain a motion to continue the next agenda item, which is the recommendation to create a solid waste committee to our next Board of Selectmen's meeting.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Second. I'll call for a vote. Dr. Z,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. The next agenda item is review, discuss, and act on the facility reservation request for Mary Bennett. We received a request yesterday to utilize Old Town Hall on February 5th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is a funeral repast. This is, we mentioned, Selectman Hull mentioned earlier the passing of Henry Bennett, and the family would like to utilize the Old Town Hall for about 50 people and provide some food for members and friends of the family. And they're asking that we waive the fee for the insurance. Any discussion?
May I get a clarification on one thing?
Yes.
And I certainly have no, I'm going to support the facility reservation request. My question is, typically we can waive the insurance fee, but not the need to have the insurance, correct?
We've also been able to waive the insurance as well, I believe, Ms. Brady.
I believe the policy gives you the right to waive the insurance entirely.
So my comment about this is Mr. Bennett is a veteran of the Korean conflict. We're all saddened by his passing. I have to point out that that he was a member, as well as Mary Bennett, of the Dayton Historical Society. He's well known in town. Many people know him. I guess if the fee hadn't been paid already, I would have asked for the fee to be waived, and that they have the insurance. But they've already paid for the renting the hall. They've provided a check.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a party. This isn't, a birthday party, or I don't have any concerns about things being damaged. They clearly got to have their place the same way as when they when they got there, so they have to clean it, make sure everything's taken care of. So I'm not sure what the board's position is on waiving the insurance, but I would not be opposed. I know we try not to waive the insurance. But I would not be opposed in this situation to waiving the insurance fee. Well, if we, so how do we do, if we waive the insurance fee, how do they get the insurance? How
They
does that
would,
work?
They would fall under the town's liability insurance,
Okay,
correct?
My
Yes,
understanding.
is that correct? Okay,
yes,
And-
and that's, I'm sorry, Dr. Z.
Dr. Z, you were gonna
Oh,
say
I'm
something?
sorry. I was totally letting the town administrator go. I was just gonna say, in relationship to what Chairman Pacheco had said, this isn't a party. It's a somber occasion. And I happen to know Mrs. Bennett. There's not gonna be a chair out of place when they leave that building. So I have no, it's one thing if you try to waive the insurance for, an actual event where lots of people are coming and it's more of a part, for lack of a better word, a party. This is not that, so I'm okay with it in this instance.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Yes, Selectman Hull.
I am in full support of this request. However, do we have a policy regarding these sort of requests, just in case it comes up again,
Yes.
so that people don't say we're playing favorites?
I think we have to look at each case individually, look at the circumstances. You know, this isn't a birthday party or a graduation party.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't think we have to, well, I don't think we have a set policy. These cases come before us all the time. I'm sure it's come before us when you've been on the board, Selectman Hull. But I don't believe we have a set policy. We have to look at each case individually and make our decisions based on what's before us.
Mr. Z,
Dr.
Dr.
Z,
Z has a question.
Sure. To Selectman Hull's point, and again, it sounds like we're all in agreement on this particular request. So putting that aside, Mrs. Bennett's request, which we'll vote on shortly, would it be possible, since we do have a facility reservation policy, I believe it is in the policy and procedures manual, it may not hurt, and I think this is what you were getting at, Selectman Hull, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it may not hurt to put something in there like the Board of Selectmen may from time to time reserve the right to waive the insurance based on, whatever the intended use is.
I mean,
I
he
would
was a
be amenable
veteran.
to that.
He was a veteran. That's one thing that, we certainly could use, saying we would waive it for veterans, but
Some clarity you're asking for, and
yes.
that may be, we can certainly discuss that at a future meeting. I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the facility reservation request to use Old Town Hall on February 5th, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. As prepared this evening by the applicant.
Second that.
Is there any further discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. May I amend that to say, and we will waive the requirement for liability insurance.
Are you
I'll
okay with that
second that.
amendment? Yep.
Amendment, yes.
I'll call for a vote. Dr. Z,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. It passes. The next agenda items, review, discuss, and act on the fiscal year 2023 Board of Selectmen's budget. Town administrators.
So yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to zoom these in as well. So as you know, every year, as part of the budget process, we ask the town accountant and we ask for the departmental and the board and the committee budgets to be sent in based on prescribed timeline. This year, we've asked everything to be in by January 31st. And historically, the various budgets included on the agenda tonight have have been under the Board of Selectmen's jurisdiction. So working with the applicable stakeholders, and I want to thank Ms. Brady and Ms. Curran for their work and frankly the history and the experience they bring to this as well. Like we have spent some time, and we've gone through the following budgets, and I can, and if you want, and if it's a pleasure of the board, I can quickly walk through each one of them for your edification, and that of the public, Mr. Chairman, or if there's any specific questions, I can take those also, whatever your pleasure.
Yeah, I would like you to walk us through, but I saw Dr. Z's hand up.
No, I'm okay with that. I always, just as a frame of reference, even though we've done this before, I'm gonna have more questions for the ones where there's a difference from
Yes.
the prior year, especially an increase. So just
Yes,
forged by the fire, Mr. Administrator.
sure. It's important to note. It's important to note that we've asked all departments to level fund, given our financial situation. So it's important that we also
Yes.
level fund. So the first one is account number 113, town meeting. My understanding that's level funding, if I can see it correctly.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'll zoom in a little more. I'm sorry, but that is level funded, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, if you could-
And that would be level funded at $4,200. You can see the trends obviously in budgeting. You look back on trends, and though last year was a more limited number, the year prior was closer to the appropriation. So based on those trends, we want to make sure, and based on what we discussed earlier with the town clerk's recruitment of election workers and so forth, that we have the ability to do that and do it successfully. So that is level funded.
Thank you. Does the board want to vote on each account, or how do you want to do this?
I'm okay with that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
If Selectman Hull is. May I ask a question about the salary for the checkers?
Yes.
You can, yes.
So I obviously am going to support this. It's a level funded budget, but I'm just curious. The request that the town clerk, Mr. Pacheco, has out right now for election workers and for checkers, like salary checkers, that's not gonna, is that just to replace people? So that's why there's no difference in the actual total. They're not hiring new people. Am I understanding that correctly? Or there's just money in the budget for it regardless?
So I believe he has the ability to have I don't want to say cadre of people who he can call on to gauge your availability.
Mhm.
That's what he's advertising for.
Okay.
But I would guess that based on we have town meetings, that not everyone is available. So he needs a pool of people with whom to work.
Thank you.
The fact that we had 3 precincts and we had 2 in the past, does that change the figures, the numbers?
So we ran this number by Mr. Chairman, the town clerk, and he also recommended to level fund it. So he didn't have a concern based on going from the 2 to 3.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve fiscal year 2022. Is it 2023?
23. Oh, yes, the head is wrong. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
no worry. Hey, I get it. Fiscal year 2023 budget request for department account number 113 as presented this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll call for a vote. Dr. Z,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Moving
you.
on to the moderator, account 114. That's also level funded at $500, Mr. Chairman.
Could you
Oh, I'm sorry.
show that? Is there any questions about this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal 2023 account number 114 moderator budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Dr. Z,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye, it passes. The Board of Selectmen's budget,
Moving on, we get into the meat and potatoes. Like you can see, there are some changes being recommended. Like in here, like based on the traditions of the board, this draft proposes to level fund the salaries for the Board of Selectmen members. We are, like as you probably noted in the agenda for executive session, we are going into non-union contract negotiations with the executive assistant and for the administrative assistant as well. So as a placeholder, we've level funded those until we finish the negotiations. One of the things we're doing actually this year, in terms of all the non-union contracts that are up, like even outside of the Board of Selectmen budget, like we are proposing, like we're actually trying to plan like for the contracts that are expiring at the end of the year, like as part of this budget process, so that can all those figures and any of the negotiations that have to happen and need to happen can be done as part of the budget process to inform how we go forward in the budget process. So I just wanted to mention that as well. The passport stipends, like we propose taking that out for the time being. With the library, with the library situation the way it is, the library hasn't been doing the passports. And it actually seemed to over these last few years, it seems to be working out. Like and folks are going elsewhere for passports, so we don't have to fund that. We also, based on the clothing, like we took out the clothing allowance as well. Based on that being a practice that I believe is no longer being continued. We in the commingled building account, we're actually, and I really want to thank Lee and Kerwin, our administrative assistant, on this. This year, like it's been a little bit of like a period filled with hiccups as we brought the commingled billing account like into the Board of Selectmen's office and have assumed all those all the bills and expenses. Like this year, we're trending like right on target, which is very encouraging. Based on utility cost, like unforeseen utility costs that will undoubtedly increase. We are proposing just to modestly increase the funding from $40,000 to $42,000 just to be able to keep up with those. And so like we are proposing that. Then in the on the Human Rights Committee, there hasn't been a quorum of the HRC, and we don't, we did take that expense out of the Board of Selectmen budget as well, because now that they, if they do have the ability to submit a budget, they would be able to do that on their own this year, given the fact that, they've been in existence for more than a year as well. So that's where we are in terms of what we're proposing for the Board of Selectmen. We are leaving the professional and technical, account the same. You can see this year we are, our spending from it, is trending on the higher side. But we have had a few one-time instances that we don't expect to reoccur. So we are still comfortable with level funding that based on where we are financially.
Dr. Sagrafis, you have your hand up?
Thank you so much. My one question is the Trails Committee requesting their own budget? Is that why they're not in here? They've also been.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, they started last year. So as we go forward, like I didn't really want to assume anything until, we had this. So until we had this discussion, but as we go forward, based on the discussion tonight, one of the things I would like to do as we go forward is clean up, this part of the spreadsheet so it is more clear. And that's something we can do offline, but I wanted to get the feedback and input from the board before I did that.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Selectman Hull?
Mr. Mullen, regarding the Human Rights Committee,
Mhm.
$2,000. Currently, you have a committee that hasn't met.
Mhm.
It doesn't have a quorum. That will take months to get organized if, in fact, we vote to continue that or go in a different direction with that group. Money is tight. I would rather see that funding cut and that we could revisit that either as the process goes on
Mhm.
or at town meeting, or even later on as free cash. We have heard many taxpayers calling the assessors office, calling Mrs. Hathaway, calling the Board of Selectmen. Their taxes are becoming unbearable. And I'm not saying this because I have any problems with the Human Rights Committee. I would rather be in a position where we are showing the taxpayers we are being frugal and practical.
Mhm.
And that if need be, if this committee gets up and going, they can submit a budget, knowing, Board of Selectmen knowing, originally we had up to $1,000 if we need to commit that. If this committee doesn't get up and running for another 6 months, have $2,000 that they can just readily just spend to get caught up because they have $2,000. I don't know if that's wise budget practice. And it's certainly not frugal.
Selectman Hull, perhaps you didn't hear, Mike, we are not requesting in our budget $2,000 for the Human Rights Committee. That's what was allocated last year. I don't believe anything was spent. It'll be free cash. And there's no request from the Human Rights Committee for $2,000. And we're taking it, the first year of any new committee, we put it in our budget. This would have been fiscal year 2023 would be their second year. They don't have a quorum. They haven't met. I suspect they're not going to be submitting a budget. And if they do, we can address it at that time. But I believe Mike has asked, Mr. Mullen has asked that we take that out of the budget.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, as I was looking at the budget sheet, the headers were cut off. I thought it was in the request, and I noticed it's decreased. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Any other questions about the Board of Selectmen's budget?
I do have one, and I think I know the answer. So, like, for example, where line 5342, green communities, that hasn't been funded in since we became a green community almost 4 years ago. So why can't those things ever be deleted?
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant, Dr. Z, in terms of cleaning it up. I mean, I wanted to present all this. Well, not really the green communities line, but I did want to make sure that everyone was on the same page of the, with the budget for the human rights committee to take that $2,000 out. And now with this conversation, what I do want to do is go through and clean that up.
Well, the only thing with that, unless we're going to take an official vote, I'd like to leave that history there, just in case we decide reinstate that group, or that group wants to be reinstated. Like, I always think of what the Industrial Development Commission went through and how they were almost defunct, and now they're thriving.
Yeah, but
So if nothing more than a reference point,
these committees will no longer be part of the Selectmen's, Board of Selectmen's budget. Human Rights, if they ask for funds, it's going to be a separate budget, won't be part of the Board of
It won't.
Selectmen.
Yeah.
Dayton Trails Committee is also a separate, they have their own budget. In the green communities, there's no committee, so
right,
if they ever get reactivated, they'd have to request the budget like any other department or any other board.
it's a
would
separate
request.
department.
Yeah, so I would support taking these off the budget here.
I would too, and I'm okay with if we want to do it like in an official vote. They're all not funded, so.
Should we take a vote?
It is a public record as well, that information. I would also like to note that.
Yep. So Town Administrator, should we take a vote to get rid of accounts 5342 through 5344? Take it off the budget?
Take them off the budget, but not to get rid of them.
Correct. To remove it from the
The
spreadsheet.
budget spreadsheet, yes.
Yep.
Will somebody so move?
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we remove accounts, lines 5342 through 5344 in account number 122 from the FY 2023 budget spreadsheet.
Is there a second?
Second,
I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. It passes. On the budget in general, are there any other questions about the budget in general? If not, I'll ask for a motion. No questions. I ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the account number 122 of the Board of Selectmen budget for fiscal year 2023 be accepted.
Is there a
As
second?
presented.
Oh, be approved. I'm sorry.
As presented. Is there a second?
Yeah, second, absolutely.
I'll call for a vote. Dr. Z,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
Aye.
and Campuchico is also an aye.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a question?
What, is that the question you want to ask?
Yeah. You know that's not the question. So just going back to one of the prior, both our stipend and the moderator's stipend, it seems like we're still continuing, and I just want to highlight this for us and for the public. We're still continuing in the vein of no 2%, correct? No 2% increase.
That's correct.
Yes, I would, I don't think this year we should think about it, but I think in the future,
Mhm.
we ought to think of increasing the stipends for the other boards. I'm not saying for the selectmen, I'm content,
Okay.
and I'm sure that all the other board members are content.
Mhm.
But at some point, it's been I think maybe 3 years, if not
I
longer.
think it's 4.
It could be 4,
honestly.
that they've had no increase.
Mhm.
And at some point, we have to, if we want people to volunteer, we want people to be active in these boards and committees, we have to pay them a reasonable amount, especially with inflation right now. But I don't think we're in a position this year to do that. So
Thank you,
Totally
sir.
agree.
we already voted on this, right?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is the town administrator's budget.
Oh, this budget, Mr. Chairman, is very personal to me, as you know. Sorry, I just have to make a joke from time to time. But so this budget, is again like another very conservative budget. The increase in my salary is a contractual increase of $2,500 going from which is just barely over a 2% increase going from FY22 to FY23. Again, we have a placeholder there for our executive assistant while we're in negotiations with her. One of the things I did do is I did propose to cut out the $2,500 intern line. As you know, in many ways I felt like I've hit the ground running. here over this last year, but in other ways, I still feel that, there's a lot more I need to, do and get acclimated with. So to that end, to, have an intern at the same time, I'm trying to balance, like everything out, like and think about that and, and based on our financial position as well, I am proposing, to cut that funding from, like our budget right now. That doesn't preclude the town from having an intern as either. I mean, one of the things, like in talking with Selectman Hull earlier, we have a very good opportunity in the form of Bridgewater State University right down the street, that has a master's in public administration program, that has a lot of opportunities for, for experiential education. So, I mean, and we have those, we have the ability to do that, with students seeking to earn credit and experience and so forth. So I am proposing to take that out for the time being. And also you can see, in my expense lines, all I am merely trying to do is recognize the fact that I don't have a travel budget, because the allowance for my vehicle, cell phone, and education is included in 5161. But I am a very big believer of being actively involved, and I actually with the MMA. I applied last week. They're seeking town administrators to be members of their fiscal policy committee, which I do believe would be helpful in terms of helping to try to our course forward here. So to that end, I mean, I do believe in being involved in professional associations and so forth. So I am proposing to offset that $250 with a very modest $400 increase to the professional and technical line.
Thank you. If I'm correct, for fiscal year 2022, you could have asked for an increase in your salary. Is that correct? And you didn't? Is that?
No.
I know you got hired. I know you got hired on March 8th.
Yep.
And
so no, when I was hired, we agreed that what I was hired at would take me through the remainder of FY21, and through all of FY22. So the $120,000 would essentially take me a year and 4 months.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be fair at all to the town, and it's just not something I would do morally or principally, to be hired at an amount, and then a mere 4 months later, I'll get an increase on that amount. So, the 122,500 is a contractually negotiated figure. To be honest with you, what I am leaving on the table, and I frankly don't have any problem doing it, is in my contract for unused vacation time. I do have the opportunity to buy it back. However, as we talked about during my evaluation, I and the board are big believers in utilizing vacation time. And in the event that I am unable to actually utilize my vacation time, I also have a carryover provision in my vacation time as well. So again, based on where we are, frankly, I'll see it appropriate at this point to ask for, potential funding that who knows if it will even be drawn upon, but potential funding for the buyback in that regard as well. So I did leave that out of the proposed budget, Mr. Chairman.
well, I'm a big advocate of people using their vacation time. I'm a big advocate
Karen, when people are on vacation, not to look at their emails and not to do reports and do minutes and all that kind of stuff.
Spoken like a union guy.
I am a union guy.
Me too.
So I do support obviously I support the 2.08 increase in your salary. I just wanted to note that I thought you had an opportunity last year and you didn't take advantage of it. So I just thought people ought to know that you could have been making more than what you're actually making now. But that's, any questions about the budget that's before us?
I do have one in it, but it's also like a comment. So I'm gonna, I agree with everything that the town administrator said, but I disagree on the interns. I actually feel very strongly that interns, so first of all, it's not for the town administrator's office if you don't want it to be. It's benefited the Board of Health, for example, immensely. They've had 2 interns, and both of those interns, one was Mr. Nick Grassi, and he was overseen by the Emergency Preparedness Committee, and the other one was Zach Freitas, who was overseen by the Board of Health, and they both did tremendous work. And I guarantee you, if you ask the Board of Health or some other department, like the accounting department, with the previous town accountant had an intern, they would tell you that it was the best $2,000 that was ever spent, and it helped them immensely. So I'm going to disagree. And my position is I hope that you will keep that money in there because, again, it's not for the administrator's office. It's for the town. And you don't have to oversee the intern. The department oversees the intern because I would not support, yeah, I wouldn't throw that at you. I understand you're very tied up and very busy.
Any other comments, Selectman Hull?
Yes. We are in very late times. I think the opportunity to reach out to Bridgewater State College, as I mentioned, Mr. Mullen earlier this afternoon, would be a wise one. See how much we could save, possibly the whole $2,500. It's an issue that we reach out, we still have time. If we needed to add it to the budget, we could. But I really think, especially Board of Selectmen's budget, a symbolic way that we're sharpening our pencil and showing the taxpayers we're going to make a very serious effort. We have some things looming, especially with the Bristol Plymouth vote, that could really make things difficult going forward.
That's actually a really good point, Selectman Hull. I totally support us looking and reaching out to Bridgewater, my old alma mater.
Same.
I have, yeah, absolutely. I have reached out to them several years ago. And at that time, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, they probably have someone new, but at the time they didn't. The gentleman who had run the internship program, and I'm talking about a program where you get college credit for, right? So there's no remuneration in that sense. He had retired or was in the process of retiring. And so, he couldn't really help us in that way. But it's a few years later, and maybe now they do have someone in place, like a program contact or program manager. So we might be able to see what they can do, but I definitely would support us looking into that. I'm happy to help with that as well, if needed. Or wanted.
Yeah, I would just comment that at the courthouse, we had many, many interns each semester, and not one of them got paid. They did it for credit. They did it for volunteering. They did it for experience. We even had interns. The high school had a program. We had high school interns, and it worked out very well. I mean, some decided to go into that field. Some decided that it wasn't for them. It's a great experience for them. I just not crazy about having to pay interns when they're getting credit for the school. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, if that's possible, let's fully transition this program to that. I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, whatever you need, Mr. Administrator. I do happen to know some folks at Bridgewater. Let me know.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions about the town administrator's budget?
I think you did a good job.
I will ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve FY 2023 budget for department account number 124 as presented this evening.
Second,
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. The next budget should be account number 151, Town Council. If I read it correctly, it's level funded.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Any questions on that? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one of the town administrator?
Sure, yes.
So right now, a little bit more or less than halfway through the year. Oh no, halfway as of the time this was prepared. We've spent $25,000, which is a little more than half of what was allotted or approved by town meeting vote for that budget. So my question is, for this year and certainly for next year, you anticipate or we anticipate to be under the 40,000?
So just really to clarify, so going through the end of November,
Mhm.
our expenditures was 15,000, and we had almost
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong
25,000.
column. Okay, whew. Okay, then we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm getting old, Mr. Administrator.
Yeah, 6 days older than me, Dr. Z, but
Stop talking about age,
yeah, sorry.
please.
So yeah, really, I mean, where we're trending, I mean, it's impossible to predict every issue that we're gonna face year to year. You can see how we've trended, but I think the $40,000 number is a very appropriate appropriation. No pun intended. But then God forbid we needed additional funding. I mean, there is we could make a request, though not guaranteed, to the FinCom. We'll go back to town meeting, but this appropriation has been adequate and has worked for the town for years, but it's an appropriate level based on the risk and the legal issues that we face every day, and some days we don't even know what is going to hit. So
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal 2023 budget for account number 151, Town Council as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Dr. Z,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. It passes.
I
Next
think,
one.
Mr. Chairman, I think when we adopted that policy that everything goes through the chair or the town administrator for reaching out to town council, I actually think that's why that budget is under control. So good work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to say, I've never contacted town council, so this is all on,
I believe you.
this is all on Mike.
thank you, I guess, Mr. Chairman. So moving on, and you can see, so this is the public. I'm just going to zoom in a little more for everybody's edification.
Thank you.
But you can see the column, the rows here. Sorry, I'll need a little bit of cleaning up based on the introduction of the commingled account. And you can see that just as an example in 5211 through 5216. But taking those out of it because they're all zero funded, just the differences in the so this is one of the budgets, like our legal budget, that we pay a lot of attention to, constantly watching over. And you can see in the in the energy for town office buildings, we had an outlier in FY21 based on everything that we were trying to do. We had buildings coming off and going on. But you can see this year, in fiscal 22, like we're trending exactly, almost exactly where we need to be in terms of 37% through the end of November. Like one of the things we are proposing, just really to ear on the side of caution again with utility costs. It's never a perfect science. So we did like and we never, and a lot of times we don't have any control over our utility bills as well. So we did add, based on the fact that as of November, the end of November, like we were just really at target. We just wanted to give ourselves a little breathing room just so, like in case we did have an increase in cost, we could be able to meet those with an additional $2,000 there. Going down to like 5230, this line item in FY22 is funded at $15,000, as you could see. But you can see in the prior years, especially FY21, based on the spending freeze that was implemented, that only $6,100 was spent out of it. So on the fact that we're actually budgeting post-spending freeze, gives us a real good ability, frankly, to be able to understand what type of funding was needed and wasn't needed to meet actual our real budget expenses. So here you can see, you can see the trend that we weren't exactly spending all of that $15,000. At the same time, we have an additional $20,000 expense in FY23 to be able to fund the second, I'm planning to be the last year, hopefully, of the modular, the library modular. That costs $20,640,000 a year to rent. So, like with, so we backed, so we decreased that line item based on trends. And then after we decreased it, we had room. So when we added in the $20,000 for the library modular, like we only had a net increase in that line, by $10,640, and we were able to absorb essentially the first half of that within the line. So that was something we really thought was important in maintaining the thread there. Dr. Z, did you have a question on that?
You had alluded to something about the increase, and I understand a lot of that in that particular line is for the modular unit for
Yes.
the library at Town Hall campus. So you would also sort of alluded to the fact that we may not need that after this year. Can
Yes.
you elaborate on that? Because I'm just thinking, like, I don't know what the timing is. I know this is more Selectman Pacheco's realm, but I guess isn't that contingent on whether or not the library is still there next year, where it is right now?
So we have a bidding issue and a procurement issue that we need to satisfy with that module as well, and we won't be able to meet that if we go out another year. So like we do have a procurement issue there, but I mean, again, when we first started dealing with the library issue last spring, we were talking about our short, medium, and long-term goals. And I think especially with how the capital outlay committee, how we're planning things through them now and how we're working to meet goals. I think later this spring, we're gonna have a better trajectory in terms of how we meet our needs relating to the library. Like in the timeline, frankly, it will take to do that. So then based on that, like an understanding that I also don't think it's essentially conducive to be operating our library in two different spots, one in a very small trailer. This basically gives us another year to essentially buy time. but it does have a cutoff date. And I'm happy to say we're acting accordingly in the meantime.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm
Any
sorry, I
other
had one
questions?
more.
Yep.
Are you expecting lines 5211 through 5216 to be filled in or not this for FY23?
No, not filled in.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we can probably get rid of 5216 for the Veterans Hall. We don't have
Yes.
that. We sold that a couple of years ago.
Yes. That will be part of the cleanup as well, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I just going down to the building maintenance account. You can see the total funding for this fiscal year is represented at $50,000. That $50,000 is post special town meeting, in which the voters approved actually supplementing that account with $15,000 to deal with the one-time utility issues for the modular, and also to deal and to fund the construction costs of the new shed. So like with those costs backed out, we're able to bring that back down to the original 35,000 appropriation that we initially budgeted in FY22, which is actually a $5,000 reduction from the funding in FY21.
Are there any other questions from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr.
Is it
Chairman,
possible just to add one more clarifying comment? I'm sorry. You can see we also cut additional fundings in the subsequent lines, but I just in 5450, and this issue came up last year during the budgeted process, that the cost for cleaning, with COVID and how after the CARES Act funding would run out, those expectations in terms of meeting what we need to do to sufficiently clean, would be on us. So even though that line is funded at $12,000 this year, what we're actually paying and how we'd actually trend out actually totals 15,100. So that's the rationale for the increase there. And just like I mentioned earlier, about the planning with the non-union contracts, one of the things like our cleaning contract, and also like our cemetery bid, our cemetery maintenance, we're working to put those contracts out now. So we'll have even more real numbers as we go forward in the budget process as well. But that 15,100 represents the true cost to today. And that's why we wanted to update that accordingly.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that that the Board of Selectmen approve FY 2023 budget for account number 192 as presented this evening.
Second,
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. I noticed on the agenda, data processing, did we not?
So if I could ask the board to table that, Mr. Chairman, because the data processing budget is informed also by the submission of other town departments as well. Because all of our other town departments haven't submitted their budget, they haven't sent in their request for data processing, but we can bring that forward in early February, if that's okay.
So we should have that at the next Board of Selectmen's meeting, I would think.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to continue this to February
9th.
9th, the next Board of Selectmen's meeting.
So moved.
Second,
I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
aye.
Dr. Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. Building insurance.
Okay. Sorry, it's taking a moment to load. Building insurance, like we, so as you probably remember from a special town meeting, no, actually, no, this is another line. I apologize. Based on the trends, we're proposing to very modestly increase this line by $1,000, just again to make sure we have the room to meet our expenses. But at the same time, you can see the trends going back to like FY20. Like in the increases, and these increases aren't actually as stark as the increases we've seen in the liability insurances. So what I'm planning on doing, is putting our insurances out to bid, for building and liability and workers' comp insurance. So putting them out to bid, probably by the end of next week. So like we hopefully will have more, updated numbers either from our current provider, or from another provider that will be able to, provide, more realistic projections for where we're going in FY23. So I do recommend if it's a pleasure of the board to initially approve the building insurance line with the understanding that as we go forward, that could be updated.
Selectman Zografas.
Thank you, sir. So good work with this. I'm sad, I guess not sad, but I think it makes sense that we would look for someone who would offer our building insurance in this case for the cheapest cost. My only question for our town administrator is the $46,000 that we will approve tonight. Is it possible, or conditionally approve or tentatively approve? Is it possible that that number could go down based on what we find from looking around, shopping around?
Yes, frankly, it could go either way.
Understood.
I want to be upfront, but it could go either way, but I'm hoping it goes down.
Okay.
Selectman Hull. Oh,
okay.
Sorry, Dr. Z.
No, I was going to say, we'll decide on the company that is the lowest bidder, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Selectman Hull.
Mr. Mullen, what is a current deductible on the building insurance?
Mr. Hall, I don't have that information in front of me. I can follow up with that, though. I'm sorry.
I'm wondering if it would be wise if we increased our deductible, would that lower our fee rate?
Yes, it's always, just in generally, that always is the case, but I think, and in my experience, part of the thing, you also want to be able to easily fund the deductible when needed. So, that's really the balancing act. And I apologize, I forget exactly what our deductibles are, in this instance, but when we met to renew our insurance in June, I do remember being comfortable, based on the fact that I know if there's a high deductible, we can have a lower premium, but
Correct.
But in the event that we do have a loss or an issue, we need to be able to quickly manage that. So I do recall being comfortable where we were and where we are in our deductibles, but I can definitely take a second look.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve fiscal year 2023 account 193 building assurance budget as presented.
Second.
If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Dr. Z,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. The next agenda, the budget is account number 195, town reports.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one is a little quicker, but you can see a $200 increase here. And this is due to the fact that because in our town reports, we're trying to make sure we include and get anyone who has a report, we provide them. And in the past, over the past few years, we begin to we begin getting more reports from the regional groups that are out there, like Bristol County Mosquito Control, even like BP. We include BP's annual report, in our report, because they're, they're part of our town and part of our community, and simply put, the pagination, the additional pagination that's required to do that, has a very modest cost. And you can see in FY21 that to do that, we were just over what we had budgeted. So we wanted to update that accordingly and make sure that any group, any entity that wanted to appropriately submit for our town report have the ability to do that, and we have the ability to fund that as well.
Just related to that, former Selectman Nancy Goulart has asked me if it'd be okay if she writes the annual report, which she has done in the past for the Board of Selectmen. And I gave her the okay on that. How does the rest of the board feel about that? She's an excellent writer, as we all know, and she'll do an accurate report.
Can I answer you by telling you a very quick funny story about the time that I was chair? Okay. She'll probably be upset that I said this, but it's a funny story. So when I was the chair, let me preface this by saying I have no issue with it because she writes good reports. When I was the chair, I thought the chair was expected to write the report. So I had started writing one. I think this was 2018. And then I come to find out that she had written one and hers was way better. And we actually ended up keeping hers and just adding, things from mine into it. But I have no problem. I just ask that it be run by the board for review and approval.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Okay, thank you, Selectman Hull. If there's no further questions on this budget, town reports budget, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve FY 2023 budget for account number 195 as presented this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. The next budget should be account number 912, workers' compensation.
Yes, so this, Mr. Chairman, is very similar, and all of our insurances will be similar in this regard to the building insurance. We've been running pretty good, and I again want to thank Ms. Brady for her work in managing our workers' comp audits. She's done it very successfully. Based on the trends, of expenses, I am just proposing to increase this by $625 going into FY23. But again, this will be something that will be part of our insurance bid. So we will have more updated information for you and for the board, likely by the beginning of March on this.
Does the board have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve fiscal year 2023 budget for account number 912, workmen's compensation as presented.
Second.
If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. Thank you. Passes. Next agenda item, next account number is 920 tuition.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on this is another budget that is also informed by department budgets as well. And if you recall, in this year's budget letter, I did ask our department heads to take an inventory of any of the employees who do expect or would be interested, in taking classes where they could, have part of their tuition reimbursed. Obviously, there's always a question how much we can fund, but and so we are waiting, for the, for the department-led information. But at this point, I am recommending that this be level funded until we're able to quantify additional information here.
Yes, Selectman Zagrafis.
Thank you, sir. My only question, it's more of a comment, I guess, or an observation. So I went through the painstaking trouble last budget time around. I was so optimistic and excited that I did go around and do the same thing, and got an accurate number of how many people were interested in taking courses that were directly related to their career with the town of Dayton, and figured that out, did all the math, put the exact number in there, because we did have an issue last year of folks taking classes and then having to wait for reimbursement for a reserve fund transfer. But due to, as you know, Mr. Chairman, budget constraints and things like that, a lot of money had to be cut out of the budget. And I think you've said it before, over $1 million. I might be wrong on that. So that got cut. So I guess my concern is I'm okay with us approving the $12,000 with the expectation that even when the numbers come back, probably, and I don't want to speak for anyone, but I would expect that we will have to tighten the belt. And so will the finance committee, and that cuts would have to be made anyway. So I will support this.
Selectman Hull.
This budget presentation, it doesn't take into consideration police and fire, does it?
Police has their own budget line for tuition, and they are in their own budget per the CBA.
How about fire?
I funded through here, right?
Yeah, that they're funded through here. And interestingly enough, Selectman Hull, one of the employees that was impacted by having to wait for that reserve fund transfer was one of our firefighters who's taking fire service courses. So, I really don't want that to happen again, but I do understand that difficult decisions to have to get made, and they did actually end up getting their reimbursement in the long run.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve FY 2023, the proposed FY 2023 budget for account number 920, tuition as presented this evening.
Second.
If there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull.
Aye.
Dr. Zagrafis.
Before I vote, I just wanted to say, for people watching, this program is very beneficial, and it has helped our own, for example, our own executive assistant has taken very important municipal management and finance coursework and financial management coursework through Suffolk University, and has brought a big value add, as the town administrator mentioned, to the budget process. So this is a really worthwhile program that does have real life benefits for the town of Dayton. And yes, aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. It passes.
Aye.
The next one is account number 940, settlements.
So, Mr. Chairman, just as in FY 22, we're proposing to fund that account at zero, obviously with the understanding that if anything occurs where we need to do something, we would work with the FinCom and even town meeting to deal with that.
Does the board have any questions?
No.
Absolutely none.
So I'll call for a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the fiscal year 2023 budget for account number 940 settlements as presented.
Second.
If no discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull.
Aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. The next budget item is 941, court judgment.
Ditto, Mr. Chairman.
I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that that we approve the proposed FY 2023 budget for account number 941 as presented this evening.
Second,
There's no discussion. I'll call for a vote. Dr. Segravas,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. It passes. Account number 945, liability insurance.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is where I mentioned earlier, you can really see the trends and increases. And as you recall, we had a appropriation initially for FY22. Then we had to increase it by $7,000 at special town meeting, which thankfully the vote is approved. But again, based on the trends, we don't want to take anything for granted. And so like we are proposing a $3,000 increase there based on trends, but again, with more like real and up-to-date information, hopefully coming back through this bidding process that we're going to go through.
Does the board have any questions?
I guess my only question is why, and I'm going to support this, it's a no-brainer, but why are you anticipating a slight increase for liability insurance, but not for one of the other insurances that we also are going to shop for?
Based really on trends, Dr. Z.
I know it's a
mean,
different type of insurance.
Yeah. I mean, the building insurance, by and large, over 4 fiscal years, had only increased by $5,000. Like here, we've seen about roughly $23,000 as well. And again, I mean, then we're looking at the marketplace and everything too, and it just really could be helpful to get like an updated view and understanding of the market here.
Thank you, sir.
If there's no other questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the fiscal year 2023 budget for account number 945, liability insurance as presented.
Second.
If there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. It passes.
Thank you.
There are no acknowledgements, correspondence. Now this one is sad. This is to the Board of Selectmen from Alice Souza. As of today, January 11, 2022, I have decided to retire. I have enjoyed working for the town for 40 years, but I have decided it's time. Sincerely, Alice Souza. Now that is sad. She's worked for the town for 40 years. She's been so involved with the Council on Aging and so involved in prime time. It's a sad thing, but I do respect her for making that decision to retire. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we accept with thanks and appreciation and gratitude for over 4 decades of service to our town and our seniors, the retirement letter of former executive director Alice Souza.
Second,
Is there a second? I did, before I call for a vote, I did talk to Tom Ferry and asked that maybe we could dedicate a room to her at prime time. And come to find out, as Mr. Ferry pointed out to me, a room has already been dedicated. There's a plaque on the wall. It was dedicated to her in 2007. So maybe at some point we might consider, when things get better with COVID and everything else, that we rededicate that room to her. So
Yeah.
I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
aye.
Dr. Z,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. I saw your hand go up, Dr. Z.
Would it be, I know we have a template certificate of recognition. I think that Mrs. Souza has worked 40 years. I would be open to proposing that we issue one of those certificates of recognition to Mrs. Souza.
Yeah, I know that she wasn't going to be available tonight for anything, but we'll see when her schedule is, see when
Sure.
she's going to be available. Obviously, we would prefer to be in person with her, presenting her with the recognition of her hard work. But no, I absolutely agree with that.
Thank you.
Somewhere down the road.
Mhm.
The next correspondence is dated, it's from the Dayton Historical Commission, dated January 13th, regarding the key of the Old Berkeley Bridge. On January 11, 2022, the Historical Commission voted to accept the key for the Old Berkeley Bridge from Tom Ferry. This key was used to open the bridge. For the time being, it will be stored in the Segregated Schoolhouse. The commission will be working on plans to display this key, and this is from the chairman of the Dayton Historical Commission, Patricia Gales. I did receive a call from Mr. Ferry regarding this key, and he asked if the commission would be interested in having this. I thought it's such a valuable and historic item that they would. I mentioned it to the chairman of the Historical Commission. As you know, I'm the liaison person for the Historical Commission, and they voted at their last meeting to accept this. I haven't physically seen it. Obviously, we got a picture in front of it. I don't know how big it is, but I believe now it's stored at the Segregated School. So I would like a motion to accept this letter from the Historic Commission.
So moved.
Is there a second? If there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Dr. Z,
Aye.
and Ken Pacheco is an aye. The next
Mr.
agenda
Chairman?
item is, excuse me?
I just wanted to ask if I also don't know how big the key is. Is it not possible if it's small enough to store it in that beautiful case at Old Town Hall?
I believe it's a lot bigger than that. Yeah,
Dr. Z, the key is pictured. I believe the key is this big long
Yeah.
pipe looking thing.
I just don't have like a frame to know, like a reference to know how big that is.
I
It
know
does
that.
look-
Yeah, I know that when Mr. Ferry talked to me about this, he said it took 4 men to turn the key.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
Okay, never
So
mind.
I assume it's big. I did not have, unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to take a look at it, but one of these days I'll go over to Segregated School and take a look at it. So they're in possession of it, which I think is
Nice.
it's great.
Hmm.
And we, it's something that at some point will be displayed whenever we get to open up perhaps Segregated School or some facility in town. The next agenda item is minutes, approval of the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of January 19, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of January 19th, 2022, as
Second.
presented.
Did I hear a second?
Yes. Second.
I just want to thank Miss Brady for, she's really been working hard on these minutes. We're getting them. We just had this meeting last week. The minutes are already prepared and we're voting on it tonight. I want to call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. Next agenda item is approval of the warrants dated January 26, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the following warrants, all dated January 26th, 2022. 30A-22 in the amount of $136,987.69. 30B-22 in the amount of $19,456.89. And 30C-22 in the amount, oh, brace yourselves, in the amount of $674,744.14.
Wow. Is there a second?
Second.
There may not be.
If there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull,
Aye.
Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
aye. That's an aye.
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. It passes. Public input. Is there any public input? I don't see any public present. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. I do want to say that we will not be coming back into an open meeting. We're going to executive session and we will be adjourning the meeting at that time and not coming back to an open meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, numbers 3 and 7, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. You declare.
I declare.
Dayton Police Officers Mass Cop Local 306 and Dayton Permanent Firefighters Association Local 4332 and number 2 to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, non-union contract negotiations, Board of Selectmen executive and administrative assistants, and number 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements, executive session minutes, to approve the Board of Selectmen's executive session meeting minutes of November 10th, 2021 and December 1st, 2021.
Is there a
Second.
second? I'll call for a vote. Selectman Segravas,
Aye.
Selectman Hull,
Aye.
and Campuchico is an aye. Good night, everybody.
Night.
There are people out there watching on YouTube, so thank you.